Congratulations, you have a job interview. But if you really want the job, you don't just walk into an interview. You have to prepare. So here are 10 tips on how to prepare for job interviews. Number 1, accept the interview. Silly mistake time. Sometimes we get so excited about the fact we've got a job interview that we forget to accept it. So read the letter, the small print of whatever it is they've sent you. You may have to email them, you may have to call them, but you need to confirm and let them know you'll be there, else they may think you're not interested anymore. So accept the interview. Number 2, read and understand the instructions. Do you have to take anything to the interview? Do you have to take any documents? Do you have to take any identification? What type of identification do you need to take? Do you know where the interview is? Do you know what date and time the interview is? Don't just gloss over these things. Read it, check it again. Make sure you understand everything about that interview. Number 3, plan your journey. You want to make a good first impression when you turn up, and being late does not help that. So make sure you know where you're going and how you're going to get there. If you're going to use public transport, if you're going to use a bus, for instance, or a train, which bus, what time do you need to get there? Leave yourself plenty of time. Allow for traffic, allow for disasters, allow for anything. But make sure you have a concrete plan of how you're going to get there. Number 4. Learn about the company. Now that doesn't mean you have to fill your head with endless facts and figures. It just means you've got to have an understanding of who they are, what they do, and what they think is important. Now you can get that information from their website. So look for things like mission statements, goals, values, ethos, about us sections. Look for if they're involved in any special projects, if they support any local charities, for instance, or any little facts and figures that you think is interesting. It will all help in the interview. Number 5, choose your attire. Now all that means is, what are you going to wear for the interview? Now the good news is, you don't have to look like a fashion model. You don't have to spend a fortune on clothes. You don't have to necessarily wear a suit or anything like that. Just think about the kind of role that you're applying for and try and aim a little bit higher than that in how you're going to appear. Remember, you want to make a very good first impression, and they will expect you to make an effort. So think about what you're going to wear, prepare it the day before, have a think also about personal hygiene, and also whatever you are going to wear, make sure it's clean, and if it needs ironing, iron it. Okay, simple things like that might not give you a huge benefit in the interview, but if you don't do it, it might really work against you. So think carefully about what are you going to wear. Number 6, read the job specification. Now the job specification outlines every aspect of the role, and you need to read that and you need to understand it. So go through it and make sure you've gone through it in detail. Don't just skim it. And as you read it, you should be trying to think of things you've done in the past that match what the job specification says they're looking for. We've done a previous video on transferable skills. I would suggest you watch that because that'll give you some ideas of how you can take things you've done in the past and use them to help you answer the questions in the interview. It's a really valuable tip. Number 7. Prepare for standard questions. Now interviews can vary, but there are standard questions that do crop up from time to time. So these include questions like, tell me a bit more about yourself, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what do you know about the company, what do you know about the job, what have you done previously, why did you leave your last job, what have you been doing since you left your last job, etc., etc. So if you can predict questions, then you can practice and prepare the answers to them. So it's worth spending a bit of time just thinking through, if I do get one of those standard questions, what am I going to say? Number 8, prepare examples of your previous experience. Now your interviewer is probably trying to work out, can you do the job and how well will you do the job? So why not help them by giving them examples of your previous experience that match what they're looking for in the job specification. So have a think in your past experience when you've done things that do that. Okay, think about the skills they're looking for and think about when you've used those skills yourself in your own life and help them out, give them examples. The more specific your examples can be, the better. Okay, don't make them vague and wishy-washy. Tell them it was doing this job at this time on this project, dealing with this problem. Okay, a good way of doing that and answering those kind of specific questions is in our next tip. Number 9, the STAR technique. Now this technique helps you answer questions around either what would you do in this particular kind of situation, or when have you handled this kind of previous situation in your previous experience. So whenever they give you a kind of scenario based question, we use those 4 letters, STAR. So it's, you describe the situation, what was going on, where were you, try and be as specific as possible. Then you describe the task, what needed to be done. Okay, what was the problem that needed solving or the issue that needed resolving. A stands for action, what is it you did. Now you can talk about the team if you're involved in that, but it's much better to talk about specifically what did you do as part of that. And then R is what was the result. So STAR stands for situation, task, action and result. And it's a way of really helping you with those scenario-based questions. And number 10, prepare your questions. Now you don't have to do this, but usually at the end of an interview you'll be asked, is there anything you want to ask us? And this can be quite a good chance, a good opportunity for you to get a few extra brownie points. So the trick here is to remember what the employer wants to see, and what they want to see is that you are interested in the company, the work they do and the job. Okay, so those are the kind of questions, if you're going to ask them, you should ask. So ask them about the kind of work they do, show an interest, look as if you want to find out more about the job and the work and the kind of projects and the values that they have. The questions you should try and avoid are about specific benefits, pay, sickness, parking entitlements, things like that. Things just about how you're going to do the job. It's almost like you're selfishly thinking about what do I get out of it. Concentrate on the company, concentrate on what they do, and it can work to your benefit. So there you have it, 10 top tips for preparing for interview. Just remember, as we said right at the start, you do not just walk into an interview, you prepare if you want to get the job. Okay, so take notice of those top 10 tips and put them into action, and it will really boost your chances of being successful. Now our next video to help you is actual interview techniques, so keep an eye out for that. But until then, take care of yourself, stay safe, and bye.